We all float down here.
Okay, we are back again with one more episode of R&D. Today we will be talking about the newest adaptation of Stephen King's It. For that, we'll go over to our nerd encyclopedia, Justin Rogers, to give us a rundown on the history of the franchise.
All right, Book.
Georgie.
He was in the library scene. You didn't see him. He's one of the encyclopedias.
What's going on, interwebs? I'm Justin Rogers, and I'm going to give you a little history about Stephen King's It. It started off in 1986, Stephen King's 22nd novel that he used under his own name. It's about 1,100 pages long. Super deep. 45 hours on Audible. Fun fact. Really long. It gained popularity even though it had some weird Stephen King cocaine trips on it. Then it created that ABC 1990s miniseries that encompassed 2 episodes. Part of it was the kids, part of it was the adults. The adults part sucked. Kids were great. Graphics were super cheesy at the time. And Tim Curry was an amazing Pennywise. Shoot to today in 2017, after long delays and studio limbo and this, directors being swapped out, writers being swapped out, even actors being swapped out after pre-production. We get the one that Andy Muschietti directed. That is an amazing film with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Check it out.
All right, with that out of the way, let's get into the meat of the conversation here. Initial feelings. You guys are bigger connoisseurs of the Stephen King universe than I am, so I'm going to rely pretty heavily on your opinions here about the movie. Overall, horror typically is not my genre, but I could still sit through the movie and appreciate and feel that it was very well done. What did you guys think?
I like turtles. And he made one appearance in this movie.
Two references.
Sort of it. Yeah.
2 references.
And they broke him.
Well, the first turtle reference, for those of you who don't know, the turtle is a reference to what Stephen King's universes are all on the back of some kind of mythical turtle or what?
God. Yeah, so Cocaine Stephen King
Okay.
decided to make this weird ethereal plane where Pennywise and this turtle live, and the turtle accidentally burped or coughed and created the earth, and Pennywise wants to kind of suck the life source out of it.
Yeah, one's like the creator, one's the destroyer. They're supposed to balance each other out.
That is the super batshit nuttiness of it that you don't see in any of this movie, thankfully.
Yeah, but the 2 references in the movie that do exist is one, there's a Lego turtle at some point.
In Georgie's room, there's a Lego turtle, and then when they all weirdly go swimming,
Ben steps on the turtle.
Ben?
Yeah, I believe it's.
Oh, I thought Beverly was like, turtle, pass my foot.
One of them did.
This isn't quite important to the overall conversation of our review. So let's move into what you thought were the best elements of this film.
Well, let's start off with the fact that they're taking the right approach. They're doing this movie solely based on them being kids. Unlike the show, the mini TV series that they did, where they bounced back and forth, it was kind of like, here's the adult going, oh, I remember. And then they would talk about what happened for that person, like his important parts and where his fears came from, etc. And then they'd bounce back later. This one just focused on them being kids. And it just focused on kind of getting to know each one and having them kind of begin their interaction with different things in the movie. That was a nice approach, so it was good that they kind of just left everything else to the side and said, we'll come back to that. But for now, let's just stick with them being kids and let's just run with this angle. So they did a lot of things right with some of the visual aspects. They did a very good job on finding ways to say, hey, here's Pennywise. He's different than the one you remember because this one's going to be this way. He's going to be more about being in your face, coming after you, constantly wanting to get you. Whereas the other one was a little bit more, he was just a nuisance. He was just kind of there to bug you and annoy you, figure out what your fears were and kind of tinker with you a little bit. But he didn't really he wasn't always coming after them.
Yeah. Let's focus on Pennywise because it's basically the biggest element of this movie. And I really appreciate Skarsgård's interpretation of this character. I feel like this version of Pennywise was more like an actual clown. Like it had a clown persona, whereas Tim Curry's version, while good, was like a New Yorker pretending to be a clown so that he could prey on children.
Well, I kind of look at them as, Skarsgård kind of really went with more of like a serial killer vibe, and Curry's almost went. I mean, hate to say it this way, but he went more with like a pedophile vibe, the way he was with the kids and chasing them around. It was those are the two types of adaptations of clown that I got from them.
Yeah, I can see that now thinking about that. Thanks, Scott.
He's like, thanks, you've given a new twist to my
Pennywise.
Now I'm afraid of both versions of Pennywise.
Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise was great. I liked his interpretation. Things that I really liked about this movie was they loved that rated R, and they used that rated R to their advantage, because even though that book is super hardcore on certain stuff, they wisely chose not to do certain scenes.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. Yeah. But the things that they did take in, I liked the update into the 80s. Oh yeah.
Yes. So, okay.
So with Georgie, I liked that you actually saw him bite his arm off.
Yes.
And then it's kind of weird because in the book and the miniseries, they still find George's body. I liked the change that Georgie's just missing, so you never find his body, and I thought that was kind of a cool element for Bill, that he just wants to. He knows his brother's dead, but everyone else is just so like over it. But he wants to keep the memory of his brother alive. And like, no, he's missing. I'm going to find him.
Yeah. I
really liked that. I liked some of the character changes in the movie, like Ricky Tozier. They updated him more to be more just like adult kind of potty humor instead of weird racist characters that he did in the book and the old miniseries.
Yeah. Fewer impersonations as well.
Yeah, so they still showed his like, senor, like they did that once in the movie. And I was like, okay, yeah, there it is. But like he was mainly just, dick fart in your mom jokes. Like
it's a lot of sexual humor, which I personally thought was a little odd. Like they wrote him too adult, but I guess that all just
I related to him quite a bit.
Yeah, in middle school, I had a friend just like that.
Yeah.
And a couple of you guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. We get back to the Georgie scene. I think that was, as I said, horror isn't really my genre, but that opening scene with him, which, if you've taken script writing classes, which we have, we know is sort of the inciting incident or the moment where you grab the audience by the balls, and they definitely succeeded in doing that. Because I'm sitting there watching the movie going, okay, these silly horror films, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, yeah. It's going to be that kind of film. I didn't know that. So that was a success for them. And
yeah,
I'll give them
when
credit.
Scott and I watched the movie and that scene happened, we both looked at each other like, oh, they're going there. Oh yeah, this is great. Like we were strapped in.
Literally.
What movie theater did you two go to?
We were strapped in.
It's that new S&M theater down the street. I don't know why I gave that a redneck accent. I really don't.
But no, the movie was really. You could tell that the movie was made with heart and passion, and everybody who was a part of the movie, even if they've not read the book, they had like a passion towards the movie. They wanted to make a good, and as faithful as they could, adaptation of a Stephen King.
Well, yeah, I think some studios and some filmmakers are coming around to the idea that are like, okay, if we're doing these adaptations, we have to do them with respect to the original, because if we don't, no one wants to see them. The thinking used to be, well, why would you want to go and see a movie that was a exact adaptation of the book? You've already read the book. You want to see something different. So it's like, no. Some of us actually wanted to see that translated to the screen.
Yeah, like there are certain things that I would definitely want to see kind of a word for word, like how, okay, you thought of it really weird to make it that descriptive. I want to see someone put that on the screen. And they did that a lot. They still changed a lot of things still in the book, but this is still probably one of my favorite movies of the year. Like next to Logan and Baby Driver. Like this is for me, out of the movies that I've seen this year, that's in like my top list.
They did a great job of bringing a lot of those things to life visually. That I think the miniseries lacked on just because who knows what it could have been. It could have been budget. It could have been
it being on ABC.
Yeah, I mean it was old. There wasn't as much capabilities back then for some of the stuff, but they did a great job bringing some of the visuals to life. And there were things that they did change from the book for the movie, and I think some of it might be time and budget, and some of it might be they were trying to figure out how to avoid dealing with the adult part right now. So they made some changes so that it would stay within the realm of them being kids and still be explainable. Without having to go, well, if we don't explain this part properly with being one of Mike being an adult to being a kid, it's going to change the way the dynamic of the movie is going to go. So let's change the story to have it happen this way so that we don't have to have him be an adult and come back to it.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
it was some changes like that.
One of the last inclusions I actually thought, like, to me, the whole clown thing isn't as creepy, but the distorted violin lady that which character is
That was Stan.
Stan sees, that actually was more creepy to me than Pennywise. I was like, okay, they finally did something where I'm like, oh, that's kind of frightening.
And that was new for the movie.
Yeah. Well, in the book, it was something else, I believe.
Yeah, right now I thought Stan was the one that saw the bird in the book, but no, it was actually Mike Hanlon that saw the big bird. Because I just remember Stan having that almanac of all the birds, and like he just starts screaming out different bird names.
Yeah.
And that's how the bird goes away. But it's really cool that they brought the leper back in, you know, for Eddie. Eddie's fear of just like germs because
he's a huge germaphobe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a huge germaphobe because of his gross fat mom, and who's descriptive way worse in the book.
He just powered through that.
Oh, it's just gross. And the leper scenes are worse in the book too. So I'm glad that they kept the leper in the movie, and I'm kind of glad they took out the scene of where he's like, "I'll suck your dick for $1."
Yeah.
Like, yo, dude.
And
Dude,
his mouth was all hanging open. Yeah.
You know, there's scenes that were in the book that everyone talks about, like, no, they're never going to do that one thing. But then there's all these other little things that it's like, oh yeah, I'm glad they didn't put that in either. Like some weird creepy leper trying to talk to a 14-year-old about, you know, you know,
and drug addiction.
Unconsensual things, even though it was going to be $1. But
and a lot of it was
It says it's hard to beat $1.
the economy changes. I mean, they would have to work on like what is it worth now, what's it worth then,
$20. I got gas.
Inflation, you know what I'm saying? Is,
how much is candy in the
I gotta
'80s?
fill up my gas tank. And
we just got into an economics binge on the economics of inflation and the cost of blowjobs.
Well, so one of the weirdest changes for me in the movie was they really did Mike a disservice. Like he's kind of the thing that holds everyone together, because like he's also important in some other Stephen King books. Like he's the historian, he's the librarian. Like when they're adults, he's the only one that stayed in Derry.
Yeah, in the original movie, he's the first person who calls everybody that brings them back to the town.
Right. And so what happens, though, is like they totally change the backstory of Mike because his parents are still alive. At least his dad is still alive in the book. And like his dad's the one that tells him all of these different things that have happened in the town and stuff. There's a lot more, because when they're kids, it takes place in the 50s. So not saying that there wasn't any racism in the 80s. There was a lot more racism going on in the 50s because then there were stories about the 30s.
Well, yeah, they were just getting into the civil rights.
It's also why they didn't ride that so hard with the bully, because they were like, well, it's the 80s in this version. So.
Yeah, and so like the bully's dad in the book isn't the cop either. The guy's dad is just a drunk, I believe. And like he has beef with Mike's dad. And like, so there's a whole story of that that's not even discussed.
Yeah. Well, I feel overall like a lot of the parental side of the story sort of took a backseat in this version of the film.
Yeah.
Because in the original, they really got into Ben's mother and what was going on with his family and why he just moved to the town.
Yeah.
They didn't really address that at all.
Which I'm kind of glad they didn't go the weird route of the miniseries where they moved into to the aunt's house and he's like, "No one likes you anyway, fat boy," and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Woo!" and runs off and stuff.
That's what I'm talking
Like-
about. Like they left all of that out.
Yeah, that's fine.
They didn't push so hard on Bev's dad in this one either. They kind of intimated that he was gropey, but they didn't really like get into it super hard.
They dealt with Bev's dad more in this.
Yeah,
than
I felt
than
like
they did the
they nailed
miniseries
it,
at
yeah.
least.
But they didn't push as much as they did in the book.
Oh no. Yeah, there's a lot of things with Bev. It's a good thing they didn't do either. Like,
It wasn't necessary.
yeah, it wasn't necessary. Like, no one.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is that in the original book, there is this.
We don't need to talk about
You don't want to get into this.
Nah, because every other site has
Yeah.
talked about that.
Too many people talking
That
about it.
scene.
Let's move away from
You know,
that.
they,
All right.
I feel that it's not necessary. You can talk about that on
Well,
every
I
other-
want to say that I appreciate the fact that they didn't go there, and I think that they changed it in a way that made sense. Whereas Beverly was the one who gets kidnapped, and that action is what unifies the other kids to respond. Is that they took our girlfriend, so let's go.
To be honest, I feel like that was kind of like the lamest thing of the movie.
What?
That's when it then became like your typical kind of movie. It's like, "Oh, I kidnapped the girl. You must come face me to get your girl back, boy."
Should have just stuck.
Pennywise turned into shown up.
Should have just stuck with him looking for his brother and being the thing. Them following him down there because he's the one that doesn't have the fear. He just wants to go down there and look for his brother.
All right, so
That's all they had to do.
Getting closer to the end, try as hard as we can.
Especially because she's the one who first goes into the house.
Yes. Try as hard as we can to be objective and point out if there were any things that were wrong with the film, things that they could have improved on. Did you have any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to see some of the things still stuck with a little bit stronger from book to series to this. But one of the things that was kind of weird was when they got to the end of what's supposed to be a sewer, right? And they come to that room where it ends. In what sewer, in what purpose would there be a sewer room that tall? The thing was like, 200 feet tall?
Oh, dude, that whole...
Yeah, well, they
what the
tried to
heck is
suggest
that?
that it was the well at the center of the town, but the
still.
thing that was odd was that there was another well in the center of that well, which Pennywise then retreated to into the film. So yeah,
What's this big room that is just there's no room like this anywhere?
Yeah, it seemed like it was bigger than the whole town.
I don't know about
600
city municipalities enough to to tell you whether there actually are rooms like that or not.
What's the diagram on this thing?
Let's try and get into my section, which I typically talk about films, in which I'll discuss some of the missed opportunities of filmmaking here. Hey everybody, back again with another segment that I like to call Missed Opportunities, where I talk about ways that the aspect of filmmaking could have been improved for the current project. Today, I'm talking about it and what they could have done to make the movie better. Nothing. They pretty much did everything right. I've got nothing for this one. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, Justin, did you have anything bad about the film?
Oh, yeah, I would just wish maybe give it a couple more $1 million for like the kind of like throughout the whole movie there wasn't very much noticeable CG, and then like towards the end it got really noticeable in like two of the bigger scenes. So that would have been kind of my thing, especially because it made a killing last weekend, $123 million.
Well, I don't think they planned on that.
And then-
It's a surprise to them, I'm sure.
Also because it's been the worst August for box office, and then this thing just comes in and just murders, literally.
Yeah, it just beat Mother's
Children,
Box
literally.
again too.
And then this weekend, it garnered another $60 million. So like it is raking in like so much stuff right now for horror movies, R-rated movies, and just like the budget alone. So you know that I'm glad they went into this movie going, we know that there's a possibility to make a part 2, but let's only worry about the best part of this, which was the kids.
Yeah.
So then you take an 1,100-page book and worry about 600 pages. So you whittle that down.
I'm ready for part 2.
Things that I would have... sorry, what was the question?
Okay. Well, I was going to get in. We're running out of time, so I wanted to get into our grading system. Can you give a grade to the movie? And if they get around to the sequel, will you be there in line for it?
Of course, and it's gonna be. I mean, for me, since it was one of the stronger movies for me this year, it's low A. I mean, there's some stuff that could have been a little bit better, but enough to still be in the A rating for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with A minus, but that's only because horror typically not my genre. But I do feel that this movie was well done for a horror film. Definitely better than most of the other horror films that I've seen made in a long time. Where are you at?
Oh, I'm gonna give it the hard A, maybe like a border of A plus. Like I thought it was really good. I was stoked. It did surprisingly scare me in parts that I didn't think were gonna scare almost the piss out of myself.
Spilled my anal popcorn.
And
Your what?
and, I definitely want to see it a couple more times before it's out of theater. And these days it's very rare for me to do that.
All right. Well, it seems that it has scored a solid A. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check us out or support us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Studio4Productions.
Yo, Floto. Yo, Floto.
Have a good night.
Yo, Floto. Yo, Floto.